Five, four, three, two, one. Good afternoon and welcome to the Live Healthy Miami Gardens weekly Facebook Live series. The Live Healthy Facebook Live is a weekly series brought to you by the City of Miami Gardens Live Healthy Miami Gardens initiative. And what we do, we bring to you information to the community and resources on how to be the healthiest that you can be, not only for you, but for your families. I am Pascale Auguste, and I'm the Director of Health Education, Prevention, and Promotion. I am also on the committee, Live Healthy Miami Gardens Committee for Mental Health and Primary Health. And today I am your host. Our topic today is strengthening our families and how it influences health. I love this topic. And we have with us today our expert, Kamilah Cross. I met Kamilah about 3 years ago when we were looking for someone to lead our diabetes support group. And what I remember the most about Kamilah was not only her knowledge, but her 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 how much she cared for the community, I would say. And not only that, but her desire to really make a difference. So I'm really, really lucky to have Kamilah here with us. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Kamilah is a licensed clinical social worker who is currently the CEO of Your Worth LLC and Beauties in Blazer LLC. She is a well sought out speaker in the South Florida area. She received her master's in social work as well as a certification in anger management. She's been providing educational and therapeutic services for the last 15 years, specializing in anxiety, depression, self esteem building, women's issues, relationship issues, and anger management. A lot that I'm going to have to call you for a couple of things. I'm so excited about this. She is a newly published author of the women's journal, Your Worth is Priceless. She was the co host of the Listener's Choice podcast, The Jesse Walker Show. She is now the host of the Listener's Choice podcast, Safe Space with Miller. And I love this. Camillah's goal is to empower and educate one fantastic person at a time. Kamilah, welcome. Welcome to the Live Healthy Miami Gardens Facebook Live series. We are so delighted to have you with us today.
Oh, Miss Pascal, thank you so much. Every time I hear that bio, I'm like, is that me?
This is my
Is that
topic.
me? I sit here very humbly, and I'm so gracious for being able to be a part of this segment. And you're right. I totally, wholeheartedly love that I'm walking in my purpose and being able to educate the community as well as my clients as to how to be better versions of themselves. So I am, I'm excited about all the gems we're going to go ahead and give the
That's right.
community and educating them. And again, even Miss Pascal, I love working with Miss Pascal. We do amazing work with the some of the residents in the Liberty City area about the diabetes and how mental health correlates, right, with diabetes. So we're going to come on and we're going to give you guys some information as well and different ways to contact us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to jump right in. As we know, the topic is strengthening families and how it influences health. But I like to break it down, right? So I want to start, Camilla, by asking you if you could define for me family. That term family. Can you just define it for us?
So, when we hear family, a lot of times we think about that nuclear family, right? Mom, dad, the kids, the dog, the cat, the American, the whole idea of the American dream. But unfortunately, we know that is not just what family looks like, right? We have non-traditional families, or what they may call non-traditional families, where you might have a single mom, single dad, grandma and grandpa living in a house, and then there's some people who may not have the immediate family, right? Mom, dad, sisters, brothers, and they may lean more on, for example, their church family, right?
Exactly.
These are people who they relate to, who they feel a sense of unity and oneness. There might be different organizations, right? We know in our communities there's different what do you call it? Like different sororities and fraternities, and
Right,
this
she
is my
says.
definitely right. This is a part of
Yeah.
your family. So, for the
Mhm.
sake of what we're talking about, I definitely want us to think about family in a broader scope, right? I want us to think about family in terms of the people that we have some type of collective feeling of belongingness with, and these are who we may define as our family.
Exactly. I am so glad that you said that, because that, I think, as a starting point, that is so important. 'Cause I really feel it's so important for everyone to feel a belonging, right? And to understand that a family is not just defined by the traditional unit,
Hmm.
and which you might look around and say, okay, that has nothing to do with me, and yet you consider it your family. So as a starting point, I love that explanation of what
Thank you.
is a family. So, but now let's take it a little bit deeper. So we defined family, but especially in your expertise, licensed clinical social worker, I, let's talk a little bit about how important is it for someone to have that family, to have that sense of somebody with them or
You
for
know,
them.
the thing is, it's in certain things, I'm like, it's not a maybe, it's a must, right?
Oh, I
Having
like that.
healthy
Wait a
support.
minute.
Yeah, right. It's
I
not a
like it's
maybe.
not a maybe, it's a must.
It's a
Yeah.
must, right? Having healthy supports, we need it, right? We were not designed to do life alone, right? When we don't have people in our lives that we can kind of have a safe space with, it sets you up for feelings of stress. You're not really being able to relieve stress, feeling lonely. So we need somebody, right? Even if because sometimes. And I'm going to be totally transparent. It may not be that we have the closeness with that mom and dad and siblings, right? So even though we may have family who may be, biologically our family, we may lean more towards the people that we talked about, right? The organizations, the churches, the play cousins, right?
Right,
And
right.
these are the people who we have a sense of comfort. We have a comfortable feeling for. But we need someone. No man is an island, right? We heard that saying. No man is an island, because we're just not meant to do life alone. So we definitely need to, if we don't have it in our immediate families, right? I would encourage
Yeah.
you to find that sense of belonging with someone and be able to lean on them.
Right, that's so true. I think some of us who maybe have the traditional, we take it for granted. We think that's it, or many times even non-traditional.
Mhm.
That's why I love these kind of shows where we bring these things up to our consciousness, right? That we, maybe somebody listening is going to say, you know what, I'm pretty lucky. I have a wonderful family, or I was feeling some way, but now, hey, this one person who is my anchor, yeah,
Mhm.
yes, it is my family. So I
Mhm.
just love bringing that to light. So remember, our topic is about family and strengthening the family and how it influences health. So again, you're gonna find out I like to break things down, and then we bring it all together, right?
Good, good.
So we're gonna break down a little bit about health, and I think sometimes we think so much about health as the other way, right? We think of health as being sick. We think of health as chronic diseases. We think of all those statistics that we hear about our community, and diabetes, hypertension, all those things.
Mhm.
I think we forget something sometimes to focus a little bit about health, which we're going to talk about. So the World Health Organization defines health as the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and
Mhm.
not just the absence of disease. So we're talking about, so feeling healthy doesn't necessarily mean that you just don't, oh, I'm healthy, I don't have a sickness, I don't have an illness.
Mhm.
There's so much more to that. I keep thinking about that wake. It happens to me, it should happen every day. It doesn't happen, but you wake up in the morning and you just feel like, whoa, you can conquer the world. You feel good. Your bones are not aching so much. You ate well last night. You feel great. You're ready to take on the world. That kind of feeling healthy, which I think we all deserve. And I think we need to, you know, think that I like the word deserve because I think we need to believe that we deserve it and we can
Yes.
work towards it and get it, you know. So again, I want to make sure everybody, you know, we're on the same page that when we talk about with this next few segments, we're going to talk about is about health, right? So for example, I want to talk about physical health. For one of the ways I can scientifically maybe explain it is physical health is when your organs and body systems are functioning well, right? When you're maintaining your physical fitness, when your body is working at its peak. So those are some of the words I want people who are listening to us now to think about health and then to think about wait a minute how let me not focus on this chronic disease that I have and let me work on my health because remember even if you have high blood pressure you can have health, right? Everything is under control. You're going to your doctor, you're eating well, you got those numbers straight. Yes, you have an illness, maybe, you have diabetes, but guess what? You might be healthier than the person who actually doesn't have any because they have so many things that they are not working on to feel better, right? So I want to break that down as physical health, but I want to ask you now a little bit about mental health. What would you define in the same way that I just defined physical health, right? How would you define mental health in that context of definition of health?
Gotcha. So I kind of put I put here mental health is exactly that, right? It's how are we how are we using healthy resources, right? And healthy outlets to feed and nurture our minds.
Okay.
Everything starts in the mind, right? Like you were saying, Miss Pascal, sometimes in order to have it, you got to first believe you can have it, right?
Exactly.
If you already
Good
talk
time.
yourself out of because I worked hospital, I kind of seen different facets
Right,
where
right.
people are in their lives, and sometimes people, you can wool yourself out of a good life, because the thing is, I
Sure.
tell people, I said, listen, in our minds, it's a very strong tool. It's a very powerful tool. And we sometimes those thoughts are going to come. You can't stop thoughts from coming. They're going to
True.
come. And sometimes the thoughts aren't always so pleasant, right? Sometimes those negative thoughts come, and in my years of doing this, I think there's like an underlying theme that runs in our lives that
Mhm.
sometimes we admit out loud, and sometimes we keep it in the closet, when
Right,
nobody's looking.
right. Yeah.
We say no, we whisper it to ourselves. But
Hmm.
sometimes that feeling of not being enough, I think
Right,
that's
right.
really like the underlying cause society shows us and compares us. We've been doing this whole dance in life for a long time, and sometimes
Mhm.
when it shows up, those negative thoughts will tell you, hey, not that this happens, Miss Pascal, but Miss Pascal, I don't think you're enough. And depending
Right,
on what we
right,
talk,
right, right.
depending on how we speak to that, is going to be how we progress in life. If you accept that, you know what, because I'm not a millionaire, right? Because I'm not Rockefeller's daughter,
Nope.
then maybe I'm not enough. Then guess what? You will create that narrative. You created that narrative, and you will live by that narrative. But it takes you being very intentional to say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and have more positive thoughts, right?
Exactly.
And we talk about, I don't know if you heard about affirmations, different
Yes, of course.
mantras, self talks. I tell people you're supposed to talk to yourself, right? People are like, you talking to yourself? You should, right? You should have these conversations, at least within your mind, right? To talk yourself sometimes out of the negative thoughts that show up,
Right.
right? Because
So,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miss Patel.
no, I was going to say, so when we talk about mental health, so feeling positive, feeling good about ourselves, feeling I don't know what could be some of the other positive things that we could say as okay, that's mental health. I'm good. I have good physical health, and now I also got good mental health.
Well, it's really about how we're living our lives, right? Because
Okay.
remember, depending on what we believe is going to be what we do, right? So
Okay.
if your overall quality of life, if you're taking care of, because everything is everything correlates with each other. So if you're taking care of your physical health by what you eat, by exercising, right,
Exactly.
it's going to wrap into your mental health, right? Because now you might look at yourself, you feel better. When you exercise, there's different chemicals released from the brain,
Exactly.
right? So these things are going to make you, it's just going to give you a boost, right? And when you feel
Absolutely.
better, you look better, then you start believing that you can accomplish more, right? So
Exactly.
it's really, when we think about it, everything correlates with each other and they wrap into each other. Um,
Yes.
I did want to say that, we need to be careful, right? Because when we feed the negative thoughts, right? I know that if you haven't heard it, the word depression and anxiety has been something that shows up a lot, right? We've been hearing it on TV. And
Mm-hmm.
if we don't know, a kind of a definition I use for depression is the things that we worry about from the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we probably, a lot of people have experienced the stress, the traumas, the grief, these things that kind of stop you in your path, right? I say
Mm-hmm.
it kind of takes something out of you, right? It's going to happen in life, but a lot of times it's about not what we go through, but how we handle it.
How
You know,
we, yeah,
how are we handling it? How are we seeking the help that we need,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. That's
And
that's
all
that's
different,
important.
yeah,
Yeah. So thank you so much, because I wanted to get that, I wanted to start very positive, and start about like, physical health, mental health, we're ready to rock and roll here. But I think in reality, many of us are dealing with a lot of health issues, right?
oh yeah,
Which weighs us down, which again makes us forget about feeling healthy, and the fact that I want to say over and over on this together that we're here, and for the rest of the people who are listening and viewing, is that we can attain that feeling again. Do not give in to, oh, I'm sick. I can't. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. A little bit at a time. Yes, you can. So, we talked about family, we talked a little bit about health, but now I want to bring it all together, right? I remember when I used to work in the hospital. I'm a registered nurse, and I remember distinctly you would have a patient on our ward, right? Whose family would come in, family. You would hear all the chat about they were very noisy. People telling them to be quiet. There's so many people coming in. They're bringing in the special little food,
uh-huh.
sneaking in the kids. Back in the day when you couldn't have kids come to the floors. And I tell you, that patient would this. You could take two people with the same diagnosis. They came for the same thing, same surgery, same whatever.
Mhm.
That person who had the family come in and the joy and the fun and the little food that they would bring in, that person could actually be discharged, and they would actually do better in their recovery
Mhm.
than that one person. I would remember, you would have many of them, unfortunately, they're pretty much by themselves the whole time. They're kind of laying down. Maybe somebody comes in every 3 days, and their actual recovery from their physical ailment would take longer,
Yeah.
right? The person who didn't. And the same thing would happen at home, right? When you're dealing with a chronic disease, and you by yourself versus somebody who, come on, grandma, get up, get up, get up,
Mhm.
take your blood sugar, you got to eat, those kind of things. Those people actually health becomes better, and their chronic diseases and their whatever they are battling,
Yeah.
is better. So I want to ask you, as our expert today, is, how what is, or how can family influence physical or mental health, negatively or positively, right? So we want to be for real here. We not just want to
Yeah.
paint a rosy picture, right?
Yeah.
We want to strengthen our family, and how is, we want to strengthen that family because we know that they influence. But let's break that down a little bit. How does family, in your professional opinion or advice, how does family influence health?
So I want to say this right now, and so we'll lean on someone like as an example. If someone's diagnosed with a chronic condition,
Right.
when someone's diagnosed with a chronic condition, a lot of times they actually go through a stage of grief. And in those stages of grief, there's 5 stages, right? There's a
Mhm.
stage of sometimes denial shows up, anger shows up, depression, bargaining, which is like, I always kind of give the example of bargaining when you say, Lord, if this is not true, I'll go to church every Sunday, right?
I've done
Right?
that.
Right?
I've done that.
And then the last stage is acceptance. But so think about it. This person, from start to finish, right, learns about a diagnosis. The first thing they're going to do is, oh, sometimes they beat themselves up. What could I have done better? And to go home and sit in that by yourself, it's a
Mm,
heck of a thing, right? I totally believe that you got to have the moment. You cannot suppress feelings. You cannot sweep them away. You can't ignore them. They're going to show up in some way or the other. So if it means that you need to grieve this situation, grieve it. But what the difference, as you were saying, is who's going to be there to talk you out of it, right?
right.
When those negative thoughts show up and you may not be strong enough to say, you know what, I'm going to talk these negative thoughts away. I'm going to replace them with positive thoughts, right? We call it like reframing the thoughts. When you don't have the strength to do that, to have a sister, a brother, a significant other, even sometimes our kids say, come on, you're stronger than that. You're better than
You
that.
can do
Get
it.
out
You
there.
can do it.
You
Yeah.
can do it. Get out the bed. We do thrive on praise. We do thrive on having those salty, supportive, positive things around us and people around us. We actually need that, right?
Hmm.
And in a sense, it actually contributes wholeheartedly to our health and sometimes our will and our desire to keep pushing forward.
Absolutely. So not to, I love me, the optimist of the world, and I love positive, but again, I want to be real. Can you speak a little bit about, we're talking about family. So you have a
Mhm.
family, and has there been, how can a family sometimes negatively impact somebody who maybe is trying, maybe, it's gotten past the couple of those stages, and then you have a family member who maybe, you know, that influences you in a negative way.
Yeah.
You will speak briefly on that, please.
So I think two things are showing up for me, right? So sometimes there's a family member who's the enabler, right? So we know this person, like for example, has a chronic condition, maybe they're diabetic, and grandma has diabetes. We know grandma is on a strict diet, and then you go baking cakes,
A good
right?
cake too,
And yeah, you sneak in
the
grandma's
old-fashioned
cake.
cake.
Now grandma's blood sugars are through the roof, so you can't be the enabler, right? And of course we want to see our family members happy that we love, but we want to see them healthy and whole too, right? So that's one thing that I think that can be negatively impacting. Also, sometimes family members may be in denial themselves, or they may go through those grieving stages with you. And we talked about those different stages being denial, sometimes being anger, and not knowing how to properly place those emotions. They may displace those emotions to the person who's suffering through the
Hmm.
situation, right? Because I've seen that, right? Getting angry at dad, dad is tired, dad can't do it, and they're yanking dad out the bed. Dad is
Right,
tired.
right,
You know,
right.
we we work. I know Miss Pascale worked hospital. I worked hospital in
It's
the
true.
surgical unit. I'm like, what are you doing?
Right,
He can do better. And I'm like, come on.
right,
So
right,
sometimes we need to reach a healthy medium, right?
right. Yeah,
In meeting our family members where they are, right, and having those conversations with them, saying, of course, positively speaking into them, but listening to them in terms of what they actually feel they can and can't handle as
yeah.
well.
Wow, I really like that. I think that's so important. I was going to ask you for tips, but you said it, right? So,
Mhm.
we have to be mindful. But I think the most important thing you said is not only be mindful of the person, but check yourself out. Why are you reacting like that?
Mhm.
What are you dealing with that you're maybe taking it out on this person who
Mhm.
is dealing with a lot themselves? So,
Mhm.
and I think that's why I love this topic, right?
Mhm.
Strengthening the family. We got to strengthen the family. We have to. I look a lot about the issues, and I don't want to make it feel like there's no problems out there, right? So I know the issues, right? There's structural racism, lack of care. Doctors don't care. We can't get medications. We know there is all that, but I invite everybody who's listening to dig to look into ourselves and our family for
Mm-hmm.
that strength about how we are going to positively influence our health, or if we are dealing with maybe some of those things, that to look back and say, wait a minute, what am I doing? Let me think back. I'm angry, but let me not take it out on this person.
Yeah.
I reassure you that organizations like HEP, Live Healthy Miami Gardens, and many, many others, we are fighting out there for some of these injustices that we see in health. But people get mad at me sometimes for saying this.
No, but you know
But I
you're
am such a firm believer that we have got to get together and understand these things, because that's why I love these shows, right?
yeah.
Because you have to understand. You have to understand and then make that decision. So
And I do want to speak to that, right? And
please,
because I'm big on, even in therapy settings, I have clients who talk about going to the doctor, how they felt, going to psychiatrists, how they felt, and maybe feeling like they weren't being heard. And I tell them all the time, as a patient, you have your rights. You are a consumer. Somebody's paying that bill. Okay. So
amen.
at the end of
Amen.
the day, just like you wouldn't go to the grocery store and buy any product that someone tells you or sells you, you're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to say, hey, I don't understand. Can you explain that to me? As family members as well, if you have an elderly parent and you may ask them how it went, everything's fine, and you know something's not wrong, something's not right, go to the doctor with them,
Yes.
right? Go
Yes.
to the doctor with them, and because you may have to be their advocate. So individually, you advocate for yourself. Families, you advocate for your family, right?
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
and I'm not trying to be any way, but we're keeping it real. Doctors are practitioners, which means that now it's not a one size fit all situation. You definitely, of course, they have the education, they have the schooling, but you're allowed to ask the questions. You're allowed to get the second opinions. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I
Yes.
want you guys to know you have the right to say, let me go ahead and see another doctor, even if this is your doctor for 50 years. Okay. You're allowed to say, and it's your health. I want you to be comfortable with saying, let me get a second opinion, and then if you
Exactly.
and go from there, right?
And speaking of family, I've worked a lot with for years, right, as a nurse, and then as a director of HEP, and being out in the community.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about family, the younger generation of our families are much more. I don't want to use the word assertive, but are maybe much more used to challenging some of these traditional physicians that
That's true.
somebody older
Yeah.
might have been brought up that what the doctor says is nope. My doctor told me, I'm not gonna change I'm not gonna change my medication.
That's
I
true.
feel bad about, I've been going to this doctor for so many, I feel bad about going to another doctor. And that's when I say, let's strengthen that family. You, the younger generation who's out there, help, like, how do I say, take the reign, right? You're very busy. We're all busy. But if it's that part is so important about my grandma's health or mom's health or anybody's health,
Yeah.
take that role, and it's going to take you half a day, I'm not going to lie, to go to the doctor. But the results that you will get by that, the way that doctor looks at grandma or mom next time she comes, knowing that you might be coming to that next time and asking those questions,
It's true.
can make a life or death. I'm talking about life or death
Yeah.
decision. People
Yeah.
have listened to their doctor, knowing that they feel a certain way, but they'll listen. No, the doctor said that it's not that, it's not that. And yet somebody who could have come in and said and challenged that a little bit, or go to another doctor,
Very true.
could make us healthier. So I love that example. we're getting close. We're getting close to the end. I've been loving this. It went so fast, but
Amazing.
I hope that we left those of you listening with some nuggets, as they say, some little bit of information to take and to really believe in. I believe in our community. I believe in families, and I believe that we are meant to be healthy. We
Yeah.
can be healthy.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you don't have a disease. Remember, we broke that down. Doesn't mean that you don't have chronic disease, or your mom had diabetes, now you have it, or you're pre. It doesn't mean any of that.
Yeah.
Being healthy is taking charge of your health, your physical health, your mental health, believing in yourself, and seeking out those things that make you feel good and make you feel better.
I agree.
Um, I say in strength, we can accomplish a lot. As a family, with commitment to each other, with appreciation and affection for each other, positive communication, spending time together, I believe we can ultimately improve our health and well being.
Yes.
Camilla, I want you to give me one more sentence or one more thought on that, on what I just said.
Well, I totally agree with you. I know that sometimes in life we know that things can be challenging. We got to push through, right? And we got to, families, we got to stick together and give each other the ability to make it to the better versions of ourselves, right? Our health is our wealth. You can have all the money
Yes,
in the bank. You can own tens of thousands of properties, right? But if we're not healthy and we can't live, a quality life, then what does it really mean? How does it
exactly,
even matter?
exactly,
You know,
exactly. And we gotta believe.
we
We
gotta,
gotta believe. Yes, yes. So, Camila, I want to thank you again for being our guest today. I mean,
yeah,
lots of great information. Every time I speak to you, I learn a little something. um, but very, very, very insightful, I think, and that's how I like when I talk to you. It's always insightful. It's always made
thank
me think. Let me think about. I think she's right. So if anyone has any questions, our information, hopefully you caught it going across the board there. And we are so happy to speak to you, to expand on what we said, to encourage you, and to get us just to health is my thing. And I want everybody to be healthy. So, and I believe we can, or at least reach towards attaining it. So again, thank you, Camila.
thank you
Thank
for
you for
having me.
joining us. Go ahead.
I was saying thank you for having me. It's
Oh,
a
sure,
great
sure,
opportunity.
sure. And join us next week at 3 p.m. as we bring you another wonderful Live Healthy Miami Gardens Facebook Live event. It's a series. It's really great. Take advantage of it, and hope you enjoyed it. Till next time.
Till
Thank
next
you.
time.